Mal hated strange bathrooms, public washrooms, especially when he had to do number two. He always felt vulnerable while seated on the commode with his pants around his ankles. What if somebody pulled the door open and saw him like that? Or peeked over the top of the stall door? Or worse, under the stall door? Mal knew the root of his problem. When he was first in school, he'd been sitting there doing his business when the stall door flew open and a group of his classmates stood there, laughing, pointing, holding their noses. Mal knew it was just silly kid stuff, but it still made him blush, even though he was now in university. Today, however, Mal was in luck. He had the whole of the large washroom, at least 10 stalls, all to himself. Taking the unit furthest from the door, he sat down and let nature take its course. He was thus engaged when he heard the door to the washroom open. Of course, he couldn't expect to have the place to himself. It was a big washroom. Besides, most visitors didn't linger. Mal heard the sound of approaching footsteps, which grew closer and closer, and then, to his surprise and annoyance, the invisible person, the invisible intruder, entered the stall next to his. He heard the guy moving around and getting settled, and was returning his attention to his own activities when Mal heard his neighbor chuckle. Chuckle. Mal was startled, then thought, just what the hell is so funny? While the current situation had always given rise to what might best be described as bathroom humor, it had never made him laugh, especially while performing the dirty deed. Was this dude looking at his phone? He couldn't put it aside to take a dump? The chuckling persisted, as if to punctuate Mal's thoughts, and he noticed something else. The chuckling had an ominous creepiness, a demented quality, that made it kind of frightening. Again, what was so funny? But Mal figured he really didn't want to know. He finished his job, completed the paperwork, and flushed. And as if that was a signal, the chuckling picked up in both pace and volume, until it turned into peals of hysterical, maniacal laughter, followed by screaming. Mal fled the washroom so fast, he didn't even stop to wash his hands. But despite his quick movements, he still heard the door of the other stall slam open behind him. The corridor outside the washroom was empty. Where the hell was everybody? Mal took off running and didn't stop until he found himself in a large cafeteria, surrounded by his fellow students. He washed his hands at the first opportunity, but for the rest of the day, whenever Mal encountered a person he didn't know, he wondered, is that the weirdo from the washroom? The whole experience simply confirmed his prejudice against public washrooms, and as his small apartment wasn't far from campus, he determined to go at home whenever possible. Or to go home to go. Which is what he was doing a few nights later, in both comfort and safety, when he heard someone chuckle. And as Mal listened in horror, he realized the sound was coming from behind the nearby shower curtain. The evil chuckling turning into peals of maniacal, hysterical laughter. Suddenly, the curtain was thrust aside, and when Mal saw it, he didn't chuckle. He screamed. Dear listeners, I hope you found this plumbing of the depths of horror bowled you over. But if not, I hope you didn't find it crappy. And that's the poop from Warren. If this is your first visit to my channel, my name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. So, please like, share, comment, and consider subscribing to A Warning to the Curious. Till midnight. Cheers. Pictures used in today's video, courtesy of Pix here. That's PX here. While the music was the classic Ghost Story by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod.